Yeah, so right around the time that Megan Burke came on as the executive director of the Players Association, I was an advisor to the organization at that point. I was like, good, let's let Megan is an expert, let's let her take over. There were talks about beginning to start the process of the CBA. And quite honestly, I joke about this. I was like, yeah, you know what? I want nothing to do with that part, like the legal contract part. Like I'll just be on the periphery now. So in the interim, during the year of the negotiation, I then took the role as general manager of Gotham FC, which meant I had to step down as an advisor for the Players Association because I couldn't work for management of a club and have that role. So in doing that, I ended up on the quote unquote other side, although to Lori's point earlier, there really are no sides in this, but when it comes to negotiation, you can't really just, you can't linger in the middle there. So I then was part of the CBA negotiation committee for the league, actually. So I started off kind of on the Players Association side of this, and then ended up working with others in the league, Brad Estes and John Walker from the league to actually negotiate on behalf of the league to finish off the CBA. So very interesting for me personally, kind of seeing both sides and hearing conversations from both sides during the process. And then seeing it being done, I think we're all extremely happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's big celebrations, of course, right? Like this is huge. And for you, I just am so fascinated by this and the evolution of the PA and the league. And of course, the CBA. I mean, we've said it like 10 times already. It's 10 years in the making just for this league. But when you started with the PA and kind of grew your role throughout and weaved your way through now to be in these negotiations, when you look back at the first meetings of the PA, is this how you saw this ending?
Oh, no, I was literally trying to create a group me group so we could communicate among the teams. I always say this. I literally am not joking. My idea was, it wasn't a union. I had no idea what a CBA was. I don't even think I ever heard of that, I'm going to be honest, which is really sad. But I had the vision to create a group me group with a couple representatives from each team. And so that I could, as the leader of this, kind of form a good relationship with the league. At the time, it was Jeff Plush, who was the commissioner. So that just takes you back to like what year this was. And then if there was an issue going on with the players or news from the league, we could have good communication. That was where my vision ended at first. That was it. That was what it was supposed to be. And then I started to learn a lot more about how this actually works and what's necessary, not just for the players to, have a voice and protect their own interests, but actually to help grow the league. That was a huge thing that I learned about the role of a players association, is to be that voice and to help push the league in the right direction as the league develops too. So fast forward to now, I look back and I'm like, what in the world did I had no idea that this is how it works. And this is what, part of kind of something I and other active players started. So, it wasn't just me, it was a lot of us at the time got this going, but no vision that this is where it was going.
I have like a little follow-up on that too. Just looking at the humble beginnings of this Players Association, right? And then sort of watching the growth over the years. I mean, being here in Chicago, I've been able to cover the Red Stars a little locally, a little bit here in my time in the media space. And I remember Brooke Elby having a much bigger role, as well as the PA continued to evolve. So for you, what has it been like sort of witnessing all this, like as someone who eventually went to sort of the league side of things, like in an administrative role as a general manager, to sort of watch this Players Association evolve into a full-on union status type of organization?
From group chat to union.
Yeah. So,
which is amazing.
as we started, I actually I had a number of conversations with the MLS PA to understand, okay, like what did we start here? Where does this go? How does this work? And they were hugely helpful. But what ended up happening was then I had this kind of vision and understanding of, okay, here are the steps we need to take, and that this would eventually happen. That's when I kind of conceptualized, okay, you have to get your status as a union. Here's how you work with the league. Eventually there needs to be a CBA, all of this stuff. What was really tough in the beginning of that was to try to explain to the players and to get buy-in from the players to understand like the value of this, because at the time there was no organization. I was an active player and I was saying, hey, this is what we need to do, guys. And it wasn't just me too. There was like great leadership. Brooke Elby did amazing work as the president of the organization. She took it to a next level. Tori Huster, Emily Menges, Nicole Barnhart involved right from the beginning. And then Rachel Corsi came onto the scene, and we had different officers, in our history as a players association. But the real thing was to try to have the players understand before there was the CBA process, and they could see like, oh, this organization can work to provide this benefit, to try to have them understand what the point of this was. And none of us have been part of other industries or fields where we're part of a union. So to try to explain to people, here's what it means. You pay dues to a union, and here's the vision. That was a huge challenge. And Brooke and I would always joke, we would do these preseason meetings to try to explain the purpose of this to the players. And sometimes we'd get questions we couldn't even answer. We didn't know, how to explain it properly. So for me, I think something hugely rewarding about watching this is to see that the players truly get it, and how many players have stepped up in leadership roles in this, to voice opinions, to be on the bargaining calls. I was on the other side and I was seeing all these players' names on Zoom, that they were active participants in this process. And for me, it was really cool to see, like, now we all kind of get it, and now seeing, players on social media celebrating the CBA being ratified was really, really cool to see how much that it means to everybody.
And I'll just say too, it's fun for me to hear this and how involved the players are, because I was involved in the WPS when we were becoming unionized, and Megan Burke was also somewhat involved with that as well. But we just never had a league long enough for players to be involved, right? It was more of like, okay, like, is this going to last? What are we going to do? It felt like you're scrambling all the time. And to be able to have that time to get players involved, because there are players. I mean, as you just mentioned, a number of people that have had their hands involved in this, Yael, is so important. And I think that's what makes it, from an outsider in terms of not playing in the league anymore, so special, because you're like, yes, this is a group of players that are like, this is what we have seen, this is what we've gone through, this is what we want from the league, how can we get there? And just having more voices and just feeling empowered to be able to speak out and really take an active role is what, Sandra, when you and I were kind of joking, but not really, about crying the other night, I was like, that's what I'm crying about, is that these players can feel like they had such an active role in what the future of this league looks like, which has not been the case for, I would say, the majority of players have played in previous leagues.
No, I'm right there with you. I think it's also just, which is why I asked Yael just sort of maybe speak up a little bit about watching the evolution of this Players Association, because I think, in the days pre-pandemic, when access was a little different in terms of media and stuff, in the relationship with the clubs, my God, like I remember like literally getting a moment to like watch Brooke Elby in action. Like there was a really tough decision that had to be made. There was like a snow day that was like impacting match day. Field of play was not great. I remember watching the players going out there to do warm up, still trying to do their jobs, like go out there and test out the pitch and give it a shot. And watching this, president of the Players Association and Brooke Elby just saying, this is not good for us. Like someone's gonna get hurt. And just sort of watching her get in action, sort of collect the players. We're talking both sides of the pitch here. We're talking about the opposition. I believe it was the Reign at the time and Chicago coming together, talking it out, trying to get on phone calls with the right people at the time. I believe it might have been Amanda Duffy at the time, to sort of figure out a way to have this match happen, but in a safe capacity. And I believe there was a postponement that was placed, and then everybody ended up just playing it the next day. And it's just these little moments, right, where we're watching these players do very important work, and maybe they themselves not realize that they're laying the foundation for very important things to happen down the line, like a CBA like this, and showing how effective something like unity and solidarity actually works and what it looks like, because if not everyone's on the same page and in agreement with that correct choice to postpone the game doesn't probably happen. So to sort of see these things and be able to witness them again pre-pandemic and at time, it was just to sort of now and sort of seeing that news break in the night, which is why I tweeted what I tweeted. I was like, oh, I think I'm crying a little bit, like question mark. You know, it's like, it's just kind of like because of these experiences that we've all sort of in our own ways kind of witnessed, you know, from these players as they've kind of grown up a little bit within this PA.